12 games, 12 months, one story. Back in 2021, I was on a journey to build my own universe of interconnected projects. I already had 2 done and was on to the 3rd, and this one would inadvertently turn into a speedrun. On February the 26th, 2021, I entered a 3-day game development competition with the theme of Failure is Progress. My initial idea was called The Inside Man. Basically, it was a battle simulator where you had to lose every battle. The plot was something about a corrupt general trying to get the king killed, then take over the kingdom for himself. The issue was my AI programming was horrible. The game was inconsistent and extremely buggy. Rather than falling into a sunk cost fallacy, I tried something else. I attempted to retool my existing project into a tower defense game, but that just caused more issues. At this point, I was down to my last workday, and only had an afternoon left to finish. It was this, or nothing. My final idea was a platformer game where taking damage turns you into a ghost. As a ghost, you can float through walls to reach the end. It seemed like an interesting idea, but it also seemed really dull and uninspired. Until I came up with my most ingenious idea to date, a timer. This transformed the game from just complete it to how fast can you complete each level. This added a great amount of replayability and gave the game character. I played into this by adding a goal time for each level. My final stroke of creative genius was calling this goal time the world record. With my new idea in place, I began implementing the game. I started with the character controllers. I made one with platformer code and another with ghost code. When the player takes damage, the player is deleted and the ghost is spawned in. I made myself a little test level and included a flag to finish the level and display the score. I then began adding other platformer essentials like springs, moving platforms, breaking platforms, and everyone's favorite, spikes. I then made it so the brick wall stops the player but not the ghost blocks stop the ghost but not the player, and then the stone block blocks both. I also got the timer built and functioning. This took a bit longer than I expected since this was my first time making a platformer game. With all of that working, I moved on to making the full game. My goal was to have 12 levels total, so I created a menu for all of them. I made the first 3 be the tutorial with some helpful background text to inform the player. The next few levels, I slowly introduced new mechanics. Springs, platforms, and everything I created earlier. I created some puzzles where you have to take damage at a specific point to finish with a record. I then took a break and walked my dogs. Zoe really wants to go on a walk right now. Georgia, I don't think she really does right now for some reason. I don't know what it is though. Oh! With all of the basic puzzles in the game, I began working on more complex levels to really test the player's ability. I set goal times for each of the world records. I then added in an ending as a reward for getting every record. I did some bug fixing and polishing, and with that, I was out of time. Kinda. Technically, the competition had 9 hours left, but I had to work in the morning, so this was it. I submitted the game and went to bed. The early world record history of this game is something of an enigma. A lot of people played, but not a lot of runs were recorded. We had some early claims of world record from Code Kid and Floorbeard, but they had no evidence to support their claims. The first run I could find with screenshot proof was from March the 1st, 2021 from a runner named Draw Noel with an outstanding 52.82 second combined world record. However, he utilized a bug where you can respawn as a ghost and reset the timer, able to quickly fly to the end on some levels. This was later patched. As a result, this record is in a different category, the death percent pre-patch ghost respawn bug percent. But what about the main death percent category? The only surviving run from this period with video proof is from Jonas Tyroller, who posted a video on his second channel, Jonas Bonus. He would set a combined time of 195.76 seconds. His record took so long since he would just stand around and analyze the game like he was giving some sort of constructive feedback or something.
Maybe I would have chosen a little bit of a different graphic for this wall that can only be passed by a human, something like salt or maybe garlic.
That's not how you speedrun. Anyways, you go on to set a single segment world record on level 9 with a time of 4.63.
Oh, another world record. Okay, I think I'm satisfied with that. Let's move on.
You see, death percent world records are tracked in 2 different ways. Firstly is on a per level basis with what is called a segmented run, And secondly, with all the individual level times tallied up, or what is called the combined run. The first impressive combined run was from Vikiri, who posted a screenshot with a combined time of 85.22. After this, the game had its first major update, the lore update. It fixed some bugs and also introduced a secret ending for getting all world records. Vikiri's record would stand for over a year until October the 10th, when mgamer101 would beat him by 2 seconds with a combined time of 83.36. mgamer's record would stand for 5 months until a new generation of runners would get their hands on the game. Early on, the runner known as Jared MV would take an interest in running the game.
The world record? Who holds the world record? The inner like I was like challenged. I was like, are you challenging me or here?
Unfortunately, his earliest attempts resulted in a combined time of 162.66. This largely wasn't his fault. The Ghost was moving slower than intended. It turns out he was using the Internet Explorer version of the game, which runs differently despite being the exact same code and the movement being tied to Delta time.
For some reason I'm using Internet Explorer, so I don't know.
Upon switching to the Windows version, Jared would begin achieving great success, with his first run getting 80.45, a world record by almost 3 seconds. Level 11 proved to be the hardest for him, with trying to time the elevator correctly. One quirk of this game is that the timer doesn't start until you start moving. That being said, platforms in the background will still continue to move, so it becomes a game of timing it perfectly when to start your run. Jared would slowly grind down his time, until eventually he set a record of 3.98 on level 11. He would further optimize his level 8 and eventually get the first sub 80 second record with a time of 79.77, and this is where the record would stand. For about 2 days. A new runner named Bob McBobbenstein would enter and quickly establish a time of 95.38. Remember that level 11 that Jared MV struggled with? Got the single segment record on his second try.
Yes! Woo!
Bob McBobbenstein would grind and eventually go on to beat all 12 placeholder records in the game, but still had a combined time of 86.18. But how is that possible? Doesn't he have every record? Well, the game doesn't actually connect to a server since that would, cost money. As a result, the placeholder records exist within the game and are just labeled as world records. Bob McBobbenstein would continue grinding.
Try doing this one. I wonder what the secret... Oh. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I bet I could do that even faster. Let's go. Yeah. All right. There we go. Shaved off a whole point of 1 of a second there. Let's see. Oh, this one? Yeah. Let's see.
Bob McBobbenstein would continue grinding with diminishing returns, such as 0.01 second improvement on level 8. From this point, Bob McBobbenstein would begin to discover many of the little optimizations in the game.
I noticed that the time only starts when you start moving. Oh! Okay, I see. That adds a whole new level of strategy I hadn't even considered. So, like, when it comes back around, I can... That adds a whole new level that I hadn't even considered. Also, that got me.
Bob McBobbenstein would become the second player ever to break the 80-second barrier. But he didn't stop there. He discovered that hitting springs from the side would also launch the player, same as if he jumped on top of them. This is due to the collision being oversized in the springs. Was this an intentional feature or accidental jank? No one really knows. What we do know is that Bob McBobbenstein would continue grinding.
I think I can, like, I can chain combo. If you can manage to hit all 3 in a row, then that would be a very good time indeed. Now I'm committed to trying to hit all 3.
This trick, as well as small optimizations everywhere, eventually gave him the record of 78.01, crushing Jared MV's previous record by nearly 2 seconds. Bob McBobbenstein was unstoppable, so much so he put out a challenge.
Alright. Putting out a challenge to beat me! Can you do it? Probably, but hey, you gotta try first. Haha.
And so far, Bob McBobinsign's challenge goes unanswered. His world record is still where it stands to this day, and that's the world record history of death percent. So, with a rushed out game, simple graphics, and this literally being my first ever platformer, I'm not going to be upset when I don't do the bed. What? What? To this day, I am still so confused how I got 19th overall out of nearly 1,000 entries. I even got a brief shout out in the video by the guy hosting the competition, Jonas Tyroller.
Let me see, what else did I play? Death Percent is a speedrunning game where you have to die and turn into a ghost in order to complete the level.
He sounds just as confused to me as why this game got so highly rated. I went from being semi-embarrassed about this project to being proud of it since I did so well, to being fully embarrassed since this was not my best craftsmanship. Again, I made this in an afternoon. My previous game, Armor of God, I sunk an entire week into it. I put my heart and soul into it, and it didn't do nearly as well as this one. I just genuinely don't understand what happened here. But it did do really well, and as a result, there's a lot I wish I did differently with this project. I could have added a full game option that continues to increment the timer between each area. I could have added a bronze, silver, and gold time in addition to the world record to encourage grinding. I could have added hidden lore throughout the game to better connect it to the larger story I was building. More recently, I also thought that a fake livestream chat would be really funny and could really hype up the player at times. If I ever do a sequel, another sequel, I'll probably try to do those things at a minimum. In conclusion, if you are working on something, your first idea may not always be your best, and what you see as rushed out may turn out to be beloved. I certainly have things I wish I did differently here, but I think that's just part of growing and maturing. If we did everything correctly on the first time and had no regrets, we'd never learn, we'd never grow, we'd never develop as people. In terms of my journey, I still had a lot of growing to do, especially evident by the next game in the series, Rogue Royale, because oh boy was that one rough. Subscribe for when that video comes out. If you are early and that video is not yet out, check out my previous video where I made a Bible game based on the Armor of God. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless.